I'm Joy Morris, inviting you to listen to True Stories of the Wild West, hosted by C.R. King, a production of RK Enterprises.
Hello everyone, C.R. King here, and I'm here to talk to you today. It's a real treat. It's about the history of Fort Gibson. Are you ready? So, Stephen Watts Kearney, Robert E. Lee, Henry Leavenworth, Sam Houston, Andrew Jackson, Zachary Taylor, all were men of history. What did they have in common? Every one of them came to Fort Gibson at one time or another. Okay, so let's talk. Fort Gibson was the first fort to be built in what is soon to be called Indian Territory, which was in 1824. It was built to keep the peace between the Osages and the Cherokees. Colonel Matthew Arbuckle was the commander of the 7th Infantry. He moved his elements of his regime from Fort Smith and established a military post on the east side of the Grand River, about a mile north of its confluent with the Arkansas River. Colonel Arbuckle was the commander for 17 years. This fort was originally named after George Gibson, and the original name was Cantonment Gibson. Cantonment is a British term for a permanent military installation. It would change to fort down the line. As migration began to move westward, Fort Gibson will soon be a pivotal force in the upcoming social and political world. The fort's location was wisely built at the crossroads of the three forks, where the Arkansas, Ditches, and the Grand Rivers convened, or should I say converged. Thus, Fort Gibson was the key to river navigation and an outpost on the Texas Road connecting the settlement of Missouri to the country of Mexico. Mexico, 4 years earlier, had won its independence from Spain. They controlled most of what is now Texas, also California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. The Trail of Tears ended at Fort Gibson. From here, it was determined which part of the land which tribe will belong to. The fort was abandoned in 1857. It was renamed and reactivated during the Civil War. The new name was Fort Blount, B-L-U-N-T. That's how you spell it, Fort Blount, and served as the headquarters for the Union in the Indian Territory, of course. Fort Gibson was always on the cutting edge. Its location in what became Indian Territory placed it in the middle of the ongoing hostilities. They were directed to actively work with the FA, that's First Americans, Indians, was ongoing. The fact that many outlaws were also in the territory, an additional issue that they had to deal with. They even took part with working to enroll the members of the 5 tribes, civilized tribes. Yet there was still a need to maintain peace among these tribes. The Alamo was that battle to the death, where the whites wanted to have their own country, Texas. Mexico said no, and Santa Anna came up with his army. Well, the fort was ordered to send troops to help out at the battle. And we all know that everybody at the Alamo died, but Mexico lost the war. The fort established tribal government in the West. I'll repeat that. This fort established tribal government in the West, whose disposition was decidedly unfriendly. This is a quote. I have maintained peace on this frontier, and at no period have the whites on our borders or the red people of this frontier been in a more peaceful state of quiet and security as they now enjoy. That's the end of quote by Colonel Arbuckle. The Indians settled in their new nations. The need for military protection declined. The Cherokees, who were complaining about the quality of the liquor and the brothels at Fort Gibson, and urged Congress to remove the post. Heeding the tribe's request in 1857, June of it, they abandoned the fort and they deeded the land to the Cherokees, who established a village, Kituwa, on the site. During the Civil War, the Union briefly reoccupied the post because of the invasion of Indian territory. That was in the summer of 1862. But the site was abandoned when the Union forces withdrew to Kansas. Troops from Fort Gibson marched south on July of 1863 to win the engagement at Honey Springs Battle, the war's largest and most important engagement in Indian territory. Fort Gibson remained a military post after the war, but in 1871, most troops were transferred out. Again, they returned a year earlier in response to threats from outlaws, white encroachment, intertribal disputes, and other problems of the region. In the summer of 1890, the government again abandoned the facility because no battles or massacres occurred at or near the post of Fort Gibson never earned a reputation that some of the other frontier forts achieved. But for more than half a century, it accomplished its mission of maintaining the peace. Many notable Americans, including Quinine Parker, served there, passed there, or even lived there. As mentioned in my opening statement, the town, Fort Gibson, is the oldest community in all of Oklahoma. There is not much there. Actually, there's a little more than you realize. The fort, there's not much of the fort left, but it is a great place to visit. It is a positive piece of history. And if you go there, you're going to learn a lot and you'll enjoy yourself, and I guarantee it. Okay, everyone. C.R. King here, signing off. See you next time. Be safe, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye-bye.
Stay tuned for next week's tale.